What is up, all my beautiful brothers and sisters and Christ? How are we doing on this beautiful Friday? Again, another beautiful shot to be alive. God gifted. Couldn't have asked for a better day. And, oh wait, you guys are here. So this must mean, and it's 5 o'clock, and Chooch is here. Wait,
Yeah. Wait, I'm here?
yeah, you're here. Sadly, the other guy's not.
Oh.
Um, but the real reason for everyone being on this show is for the college football show, the conference championship week. Boy, do we got quite the interesting slate for all of you and ourselves included. Honestly, this conference championship week, one of the more exciting ones that I've ever been a part of. And of course, that guy has a name, and his name is.
Chooch!
It's always good when Chooch is around. He hits that intro. It gets louder every time, by the way.
Yeah, you see, we figured the mic out, so I think I can hold the Chooch longer next season, or for National Championship Week. I might hold the Chooch a little longer and see what happens.
Pay attention to that. Somebody in the comments, feel free to hold the stopwatch. Tell us how long he holds it when we come to that week,
Yep.
please. All right, so let's get into the games without further ado. And we are going to start off with a fun one. Kicks off tonight at 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The New Mexico State Aggie. Wait, shoot. Did I read that right? New Mexico State?
Yeah. Yep.
They're
We
here.
both. Yep.
They're 10-3?
10 and really good, yeah.
And 7-1 in conference play. This is false. Where
I mean,
did you
they haven't lost since Hawaii, so.
My goodness, what a season. What a weird one. And then of course they're versing Liberty, but I mean we're not really shocked they're here if you follow the show. I mean, this is part of the course with them. They're undefeated. Hey, they're finally ranked consistently. Good job, NCAA. You didn't screw it up this time. So the story of these two teams, kind of similar. Really good coaches, really good quarterbacks, defenses that have been really playing at a different level, especially in the case of New Mexico State. They held Auburn to 10 points in Jordan Hare. Don't forget about that. They held Jacksonville State to 17 points and Middle Tennessee State to 7. Now, the question mark comes with New Mexico State, at least. Can their offense get it done? Because their offense hasn't been fully impressive. I mean, they've had some weeks where they have shown flashes, like the Western Kentucky week. They put up 31 against Auburn, but Jayville State only had 20, Middle Tennessee State only 13. There's some concern with this offense. Liberty, on the other hand, I mean, what is there to say? It's Liberty Magic, man. They just keep winning. They keep dominating. They look good. The concern to some people was in the Louisiana Tech and Western Kentucky game when they gave up 29 to Western Kentucky and 30 to Louisiana Tech. Some people go, defense against a not great offense usually favors the defense. However, there are cases to where an offense catches fire and might even overcome these odds. All that being considered, Liberty is a 10.5-point favorite. The Aggies are coming, Chooch, but do they have enough to pull this off?
I don't know. See, I know New Mexico State lost the game when these two played earlier this season. They lost the duel earlier in the year, 33-17. The passing game has been more consistent for New Mexico State. Since since that Liberty game, 203, 155, 256, 286, and then we drop here 186 and then 95 against La Tech, but La Tech's not a bad defense. And then 220 141. He threw for 201 against Auburn. So, I mean, the kid's got talent. He's got great arm talent. New Mexico State's quarterback. Pavia. But with that being said, Liberty Magic is a thing, and Liberty's just letting them, they're just doing their thing. They're just out there. They're playing football. They're having fun. They're loose. They're a beautiful campus. These boys are enjoying their life. So I'm taking Liberty here, but I think New Mexico State hangs around. If New Mexico State wins this, it's because of the Auburn game. I'm going to say that.
I like that. See, there is a lot to be excited for if you're New Mexico State. 10-3, 10-win season, which has got to be the first time in forever. Trying to go back and remember a time when they did this, I can't. But I do like them. I think they could compete in a game like this. But the reason why they're not going to win a game like this is because Pavia is their leading rusher and leading passer. When a quarterback is your leading rusher, that means one of two things. Either you have an electric quarterback who is known for carrying the offense and the load and is just that good, or you don't have a run game, sometimes even both. So I just think New Mexico State is too one-dimensional in that aspect and doesn't have the ground game to get it done with their tailbacks. And I think that's the big thing for Liberty. They're going to be zoning in on Pavia all night, and I think Liberty gets it done. All right, we're going to move on to another one here that is today as well, and a rematch of sorts. The only loss between these two teams was each other. Fun fact. Oregon, number 5 in the nation, they got a Heisman finalist candidate by the name of Bo Nix. That guy's kind of good. And then Washington, on the other hand, they're number 3 in the nation. They also have their own Heisman candidate in Michael Penix Jr. Another guy that's, for lack of better words, kind of good. So this
Just a little
might be your typical Washington, Oregon bash of offense. Now, Dan Lanning for Oregon, he has been a defensive-minded coach. He was the DC at Georgia before coming over, playing here, coaching here, building a good program here, and possibly even a Final Four team here. We'll see about that tonight. Washington is the only thing standing in the way of that. I mean, this game, if this doesn't get you excited tonight at 7, I don't know what does. Oregon's a 9.5-point favorite. A lot of people saying this time it's going to be different. Bo Nix is ready for the moment. Is he ready, Chooch? Will this be Dan Lanning's revenge and the Ducks, or will the Huskies find another wacky way to win another close game? What do you think?
Yeah. If you look at these 2 seasons since these guys last played each other, Oregon's kind of just given everyone the middle finger and ran away from the games. Meanwhile, Washington's kind of struggled to win games. Like Oregon almost showed everyone something. Like, hey, you can beat them this way. We just got to capitalize on it. And I think you hit the nail on the head there with Dan Lanning, Georgia defensive coordinator. I think this team is more ready for. I think they needed. Hold on, let me restate that. I'm gonna restart. That Oregon team needed that loss to Washington. I think earlier in the year to kind of get their head like, okay, we now know what we need. We're not the best team. Apparently, we need to beat Washington now to prove it. I think Oregon and Bo Nix are ready. They come out. Penix Jr., I think, in my opinion, has been the reason Washington's 12-0 for a few games this year. So his ability to just kind of make throws and put the ball where the receiver can only get to it is absolutely amazing. Same with the man on the opposite sideline, and I'm going to go with that man and Dan Lanning winning this game. I think it's closer than some people think it's going to be. I think Oregon wins it off the last-second touchdown. So go Ducks, quack away, quack.
All right, Oregon. Chooch, I'm gonna need your help with this one, okay? When was the last time that a rematch went well for the team who won the first game? Do you remember?
No.
Me
No, I don't.
Me neither.
I don't either.
That's why I'm gonna go Oregon here, just because for whatever reason, it always happens. The team that loses the game in the regular season bounces back and wins in this bigger matchup. It always happens, and I think history repeats. So Oregon wins, and I think Washington, I mean, if you've watched them recently, they've just been finding ways to win games. They haven't looked dominant, haven't looked great per se, or elite, as some people word it. And I think that finally gets them, and they get kicked out of the playoffs tonight. So yeah, give me the Ducks.
Also, did you guys know this is the fourth AP top 5 matchup in Pac-12 history and the first that's not USC UCLA.
Wait. Say that again?
Oregon Washington will be the fourth AP top 5 matchup in Pac-12 history and the
Oh,
first that isn't USC and UCLA.
that is insane.
So when the Pac-12's dying, everyone leaves, the Pac-12's at its best. That's usually how it goes, right? Everything runs its best before it blows up.
Usually, yes.
So there we go. There's your tidbit of information for this game, folks.
I love that. That's why I'm telling you, Chooch, he's the information guy on these out pocket things that nobody would know. And I love it. All
I
right.
try.
Next game here, we got a Big 12 championship to be decided. And let's just say a lot on the line for both of these teams, but more so Texas. These two have played a total of 37 times. This will be the 38th meeting. And out of those 37, Texas has won 26, Oklahoma State's won 11. And out of the last two games, Oklahoma State's won both. Keep that in mind. Now, I will say this. The script has flipped since last year. That was their last meeting a year ago. And let's just say that with these two teams, nothing is ever certain. It doesn't matter records. It doesn't matter the stage. It doesn't matter who's better at the time, who's worse at the time. These two teams always find a way to shock each other. So history would favor Oklahoma State in this game. But Chooch, you've been riding with the horns all year. Is this time to switch it up and go with the shooting Cowboys, or are you sticking with Texas?
Oh, I'm sticking with the Longhorns here. Listen, only reason I'm doing that is because Oklahoma State hasn't proven to me that they can win big games when they need to. So, I mean, come on, they lost to South Alabama. They got decimated by UCF, and they beat Big Brother Oklahoma, and they beat BYU in 2 overtimes. By the way, they did beat Houston by 13.
That's true.
That's all I really cared about. That's all I had to make a point for. So, Texas, Queen Ewers, Sark, these guys are doing their thing. They're rolling, and they're waiting for someone to lose so they can make it into the playoffs. We'll cover that, though.
Oh yes, we are gonna. In case y'all didn't know, after these picks, after the pick portion, we're going over the final four. That'll be fun. So, but please stay tuned. Um, so for this game, I think Oklahoma State's gonna put up a fight and even have people shocked for a little bit in this game. Heading into the fourth, it's gonna be crazy. Oklahoma State's gonna have a lead. But Texas and the experience of this team is what is the difference here. Texas will not panic. They will answer appropriately, and they will shock nobody because they're favored and they're going to win. All right, next one here. We got the battle for the Mountain West, UNLV and Boise State.
Oops.
If you would have told,
sorry,
oh,
I'm making the thing for it. I made every single one of them earlier except this one.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll
So do
give you
your thing; it will come up.
all right. All right. So if you were to tell me at the beginning of the year that this would be the matchup to decide the Mountain West, I would have called you an absolute loony. There is no way that I would have thought this heading into this year. But here we are. UNLV 9-3, Boise State 7-5, and talk about just a crazy year in the Mountain West. For so long, Air Force was looking like the team to beat, and everybody's thinking Air Force is going to be the team to get here. It wasn't. Then people were getting excited about Wyoming. They were pulling off some upsets. They were looking good. Then they kind of fell off. Then the constant talk was Fresno State. Fresno State had it, and then they dropped it. So long and behold, after a wacky time in the Mountain West, we got Boise State and UNLV. Now, to get to these two teams, Boise State, it's been weird. They've had great moments, they've had awful moments. They've had really questionable offense, they've had pretty good offense some weeks. Defense has really seemed to step up. Out of their last 5 games, their biggest margin that they gave up was 37 to Fresno, and you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's not really good. That was one of the 5. Picture the last 4. 7 to Wyoming, 14 to New Mexico, 10 to Utah State, and 19 to Air Force, who was at the time probably going to be in this game. UNLV, on the other hand, they have taken the script and said, "We don't care. We are going to be the team that goes 9-3. This game, of course, huge implications for both of these teams. But UNLV, if they could win this, get the Mountain West title, imagine how big this would be for recruiting and for this coach to be looked at in a different light, maybe even some bigger programs going, wait a minute, that guy, he might know some things. He might be good. Lot riding on the line for both of these teams. And Boise State, if they win it, they're salvaging what is quote unquote a bad season. Shoot, you get first crack. Who gets the Mountain West?
I'm gonna go UNLV. Simple. I mean, yeah, they lost the last game to San Jose. Actually, no, that's a lie. I'm going Boise State because
Oh,
if you know anything about these Broncos, it's that they like to do stuff like this. We're gonna completely fly under the radar for the first portion of the year, and then the last like 6-7 weeks of the season, we're just gonna turn it on. And this is typical Bronco defense here. Um, so I'm gonna go Boise State. I think the team's ready. I think they're starting to embrace that. Hey, we're Boise State. This is our conference. Guard it. And then it's gonna be really close though. UNLV falls behind early. Can't get on the right track. Seems like whenever they get momentum, it's gonna fall apart. I'm going Broncos.
I'm gonna go the opposite side here. I've been rubbing and Reb all year, pretty much. I think the only time I picked against them was the Michigan game this year, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna go with them, and the reason why, I really like the style they're playing. I really like the fight that they have, and I know how huge a 10, maybe even 11 win season it would be. We might see UNLV football at a rate that we could never have even dreamed of if this season continues in the positive way that it's been going. And I also really like their quarterback, Mavia. He's safe with the ball. He has over 2,600 yards, and he has only missed on 104 throws all year. It's a pretty good statistic. I know they're coming off of the loss, to San Jose State, and that's going to sting, but I think they rectify it this week. Give me them ribs. All right, next one here, Miami of Ohio and Toledo, the Battle of the MAC. Miami of Ohio, they've actually been mentioned on the show before, week 1 and a little bit later on when they played Ohio. So welcome back to the show, Miami of Ohio. Toledo, on the other hand, not really getting a whole lot of a mention, not really getting in the limelight, but don't let that fool you. They're 11-1, 8-0 in conference, and they have been playing phenomenal. Some people have even said they look like they should be in a different conference because of how well they handle the MAC, and I honestly would not fight that idea. That's how good they've been. They've only had one close game, or no, excuse me, two close games out of their last five. Miami of Ohio was one. Bowling Green almost had them. On the other, lost by one. Miami of Ohio, since the Toledo loss, they've been on a tear. They destroyed Ohio. They destroyed Akron. They shut out Akron. They beat Buffalo and they beat Ball State by 2. That one was, again, one of those sneaky games. Not a lot of people expected much, but Miami of Ohio was able to pull through. Toledo is a favorite in this game by 7 points, so not a lot of love for the Red Hawks. Chooch, I know you picked the Red Hawks a few times this year, and Gabbert, he's been looking pretty good, finding a stride. Is this the time for the Red Hawks to
I'm
take the
gonna
MAC?
I'm gonna tell you no, and I'm gonna tell you why. Toledo only lost to Illinois by 2 the first game of the year, and that has legitimately been their only loss of the season. Bowling Green, big rivalry game. That's going to be close. Ohio, Miami of Ohio. That's another in-state rival. They're going to be close. DeQuan Finn, the quarterback for this Toledo Rockets team, is going to shoot his way. That's right, gunslinger, shoot, and see what I did there. See what I did
I
there.
love that.
He's going to shoot us and the Rockets. Remember. Also, a fun fact for y'all. Did y'all know when Toledo has a rocket on their campus and they aim it at Bowling Green's 50 whenever they play?
What?
Yep. So with that being said, I'm going to take Toledo over Miami of Ohio. I just a lot to like about the Toledo offense and the defense, and not as even on the other side. So I'm going to say Toledo.
Okay, so this is how I picture this game going. I'm sure you all have watched Rocky, so I'm going to use a little Rocky here. Picture this game as Rocky versus Drago. Picture this a little bit. Miami of Ohio is going to be Drago. They're going to be punching, 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 doing everything they can, slamming Toledo to the ground, doing quite literally everything. But Toledo is going to pull it late against Miami of Ohio, despite not having a great game. They're going to overcome the surge and end up winning this one late. And the reason for that, I mean, just look at the way they've been playing all year. And I think it's going to even show more to the heart of this Toledo team because they really don't get down a whole lot. So it's going to be a real showing about how they fight and how they continue to just, next play, move on. And give this coach props on his MAC title because I don't see Toledo dropping this one. All right, next one here, SMU and Tulane. This game has huge implications. I mean, obviously, you're fighting for the American title. And then on top of that, you might even be fighting for a ranking next year. Both of these teams are good enough to do that. You got one heck of a quarterback battle. Preston Stone taking on Mr. Michael Pratt from Tulane, and this is looking to be a QB duel. But don't let that fool you. These defenses have a tendency, I'm not saying all year, but in big moments, in big games, and even in the smaller games that people don't watch, to step up and make at least one play to help out that offense and secure a win. Chooch, these two teams could not be more similar in that respect. Who do you give the edge to?
I'm taking Tulane simply because I think Tulane's played better opponents all year. That one loss this year was to a very, very good Ole Miss team that they only allowed, 32 points against?
Yeah.
Yeah, they allowed 37 points to Ole Miss. And by the way, Ole Miss didn't actually open the game up till late in the fourth quarter in that game. So I'm going Green Wave. I like the offense. The defense is fantastic, super athletic. But like you said, both these teams are very similar in the aspect that they can get it done on both sides of the ball. Coaching's fantastic on both ends. But at the end of the day, I think Tulane's. I think last year we learned a lot about Tulane that we didn't know. And this year we're putting the pieces together going, all right, that's how that team was built. And honestly, Pratt, stud, rocket arm. Hughes, stud, back. Just give him the ball, watch him work. So I'm going Tulane.
Man, this one's tough because I love both of these schools. I mean, SMU, they're a great football team. Tulane's a great football team. They're both well coached. They can both score a lot. Their defenses come up big when needed. Their special team play is phenomenal. I mean, this is a very down the middle game. But I'm gonna give Tulane just that little extra edge because I think they're more well prepared. Their coach has been in bigger moments, like Chooch was mentioning. The Ole Miss game, that was the best offense that they saw all year, and I don't even think it's close. But I'm also gonna say this one too. How about that UTSA game, a week ago, to where you had some fears, some doubt in that game, and then Tulane turned it on and put it away. And I think that is such a huge thing in a team to have that sixth sense and to just go, no, this game's over, and then slam the door. So I think that's what happens here. Tulane gets a little bit out in front and then just slams the door on SMU. Give me the green wave. All right, next one here. We got Troy and Appalachian State, the battle for the Sun Belt. And Chooch, I feel like we've covered every Sun Belt game on the show.
I mean, it's honestly a pretty fun conference. I'm not even going to lie to you here.
Oh, it is. I mean,
Amazing games, incredible talent, like some extremely good coaching, like under the radar teams are playing here. Like
absolutely.
there's talent on these fields that you're just like, are you sure we're not watching an SEC or a Big Ten game?
Yeah, no, that nails it. And these are like the 3 and 4-star kids that, you never see
Under
a 5-star.
what's that thing I was telling you last year? Or the
What
thing I was
is it?
saying last year? 3-star,
5-star.
5-star talent with 3-star size.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So in this game, I mean, Appalachian State really doesn't need an intro because everybody knows them. We've covered them every other week. It's either a close loss or a close win. That's kind of how they roll. Except for last week, they dominated Georgia
And
Southern.
Georgia State.
Oh, and Georgia
And
State.
Marshall.
Well, Marshall, to be fair, kind of fell off a cliff, but we'll get
We'll go with
to
it.
them at some point. Bowl week. And then as for Troy, 10-2, and they have returned to that Troy form. Not to mention, this game is played in Alabama, which isn't too far from that Troy stadium. I mean, obviously they're in Alabama. I'm just saying the stadium's a little bit further away, if I'm not mistaken. So in this game, I mean, what else is there to say? You got great quarterbacks. Running back wise is where it gets a little different. Vidal has more rushing yards, more carries by at least 70 than the App State running back, and has 9 TDs compared to Knowles' 5. Wide receiving wise, App State's a little bit more one heavy with Robinson compared to Troy, who's been airing it out to multiple targets for equal success. These two teams, they're pretty interesting in terms of the contrasts of styles. Obviously, two tremendous coaches, but which coach is going to lead their team to a Sun Belt title. What do you think, Jude?
So I will say this: App State's only here because they beat JM. Actually, I don't even think they're here because of that. Yeah, so they're only here because JMU can't bowl, or not. Well, they can bowl, but they can't fight for a conference championship, or else it'd be JMU versus Troy right now. Um, Even with the App State win, they still had 2 conference losses. Just putting it out there. So remember that, folks, when you're making these bets. App State, though, Troy won this game last year against Coastal. Actually, I'm pretty sure they hammered Coastal last year in a conference championship game. But App State's playing a lot better football. App State's playing fantastic football recently. I want to point out the running game split between Nate Noel and Kanye Roberts. Both 100 carries, 100 plus carries over the year. Well, Roberts is literally just at 100. So, but App State really doing a fantastic job lately. They've been winning big games. Obviously, they won that game in overtime against James Madison. They hammered Georgia Southern, and this team, since losing to Coastal and ODU, have been playing good football. So I'm going to take App State here. I think they're just playing a little bit better football. I think the team is more prepared. Coaching is more prepared for this game than Troy is. So App State, close one over Troy.
Oh man, see, I'm weird with this because I love Troy. I think they're a really good team. It's just whenever they get into a big moment for me, whether it be the Kansas State game this year, and it just seems like they're good when you don't expect them to be good. They beat a team when they're not supposed to. And then they get to a moment to where people can look at their program and be like, hey, they're doing stuff, and then they drop that game. So I think that's kind of what happens here. Troy cannot live up to the moment, and App State does. Give me the Mountaineers. All right, next one here. We got the battle for the ACC title. The Louisville Cardinals. Let me say that one more time. The Louisville Cardinals are in the ACC title game. A team that people in the preseason were going, Jeff Brom's first year, they'd be lucky to win 9 games, if that, maybe even lower. Well, boy, do I have news for you. They're in the ACC title game. And on the opposite side, you got the Noles from Florida State. And let's just say this was very well predicted from the beginning of the year. Actually, if you watch one of our first podcasts, when we talk about the Florida State LSU game, we said this could be a game where the ACC title winner and the SEC title winner are both here. Now, as fate would have it, we got one part potentially right, the other part not so much. Out of these two teams, they have played a total of 23 games. Florida State has won 17 and Louisville has won 6. If we're looking at history, obviously that favors the Noles, but something is different this time around. Jeff Brom has quite the team built against Mike Norvell's Noles, and they have been, every time they've been doubted, especially by me, they have come out and won. That Notre Dame game should ring a bell, if you remember. Chooch actually got that one right, so thumbs up for Chooch. Now, the issue with this game that scares a lot of people, because this line was actually pretty substantial at one point in time. I believe it was 8 for Florida State. Now it's 1.5 for the Noles. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, I mean, they lost Jordan Travis. Obviously, it would take a hit. That's not the only thing they lost. They also lost Roadmaker, their second string quarterback. Mike Norvell pretty much confirmed he probably won't be playing this game. That's a huge loss at the quarterback position because he had a gritty win in the swamp against the Gators. Now Louisville, on the other hand, they've been pretty good. Defensively, they've showed up. They've made stops when they've had to. The offense, when they're clicking, they're on. But also, when they're off, there's a notable difference. And when they're off, even for the slightest bit, you can see something that happened a week ago against the rivals, Kentucky. They ended up dropping that game. Now, was the offense to blame? No, it was the defense, but it was still the Louisville offense leading to that loss because they couldn't get it done on enough drives. Florida State, I mean, what else is there to say? Close win, close win, close win. Really, that's been the story for the Noles. But now with another new quarterback, can Mike Norvell find a way to get this team another win? What do you say, Jude?
Oh, so like I really, I really want Florida State to go back and capture another ACC championship, but I just with the uncertainty at who's starting at quarterback this week because Roadmaker still ain't going to get his decision until almost game time apparently from what I'm reading here. I'm going to go with Louisville on the fact that the air attack will, I honestly think, wear these DBs down a little bit for Florida State, even though they're probably one of the best defenses they're going to face all year. I just think Florida State's just going to get gassed in this game. I think Louisville's going to come out and they might run a little bit of tempo and a little bit of higher tempo and just have at it. So I'm going to take the Cardinals in this one. They didn't steer me wrong against Notre Dame. They're not going to do it now. They did last week, but they're not going to when I need them to.
All right. So I do want to say something before I make my pick here. Mr. Plummer, the quarterback for the Louisville Cardinals, and I keep my receipts, so, this is why. Mr. Jack Plummer, you shut up the haters after week 1. Actually, week 0, because you were playing Georgia Tech that week 0. And I remember going to Louisville Twitter, and every comment was, "Don't let that Plummer take another snap. Get him off the team. He's terrible." Safe to say, I'm kind of having a hard time finding those people at this point in the season. So if you know where they went, guys, feel free to message me, and I'll make sure we'll do a wellness check. Anyways, my pick in this game, I like Louisville. I think they're a really good team. I think they have, Jeff Fromm. I've given this guy props all year. He's a phenomenal coach. But Mike Norvell in this Florida State defense is going to be the reason Florida State wins. They are the best team defensively, aside from probably Georgia, that nobody is talking about. This defense does not get enough love, and I think that front four is going to be the story of this game. So give me the Noles. All right, next one here, second to last, we got the Big Ten title game. The Michigan Wolverines still undefeated after the Ohio State game. A lot of people had some worry with Harbaugh not being allowed on the sidelines. That was the game they were going to go down. That's what everybody kept saying. And guess what? They're still unbeaten. They won that one by 6 in Ann Arbor, to really not the shock of anybody here at JCP, but around the world. There was decent amount of surprise for whatever reason. I'm still don't know why. And their adversary, the Iowa Hawkeyes, which, let's just say, the saying defense can win championships, that's them. Their defense could win a championship if the game was just their defense. But their offense is the part to where everybody goes, oh. Their highest scoring margin recently was against Rutgers. They scored 22. Aside from that, they lost to Minnesota. They only put up 10. They played Northwestern, won 10-7. They put up 10. Illinois, 15. Nebraska, 13. And that was off of a last-second field goal, mind you. So everything points to Michigan continuing on their streak. But Chooch, I do want to warn you about something. Remember that a night game in Kinnick not too long ago happened to where the Iowa Hawkeyes knocked off the Michigan Wolverines. It was a late, eerie setting. Obviously, we're not in Kinnick. It is a Big Ten title game, but I do want you to keep in mind that whenever Iowa's massively counted out like they were then, they have a tendency to pull off some shockers. Will this be the shocker? Michigan's a 22-point favorite. What do you say about
So, I just lost one of my point. I just had it, I was about to say it, and then I lost it. Anyways, I'm going to take Michigan in this one. Iowa, I would love it if I think a lot of the country. Okay, I remember what I was going to say. This has what was it? 2021 Ohio State Northwestern vibes.
Right? Yeah.
This game has all those vibes, except Northwestern's offense then was better than Iowa's has been the last 2 years, 3 years, 3 years. Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm going to take Michigan here. The offense is just too good. They're going to be, and that Iowa defense is going to get tired. So yeah, that's all I got to say for you.
Oh man, I'd love to say Iowa wins this game too. I think Iowa's defense is good enough, but again, you mentioned that offense. Everybody goes, "Oh no," and Michigan's not going to struggle here. I do think the Iowa defense will fight for a little bit, but again, when you get no help from that offense, there's only so much a defense can do. So sorry, Iowa defense, but Michigan runs through Iowa. And now to the game that everybody's been waiting for, the SEC title game. I feel like this is the game of the week pretty much every week. I wonder if there's a specific reason for that. Could it be maybe it's the best conference pretty much every year? I think it might be. Georgia 12-0, 8-0 in conference play, and they have not looked back. Even though the headlines would suggest that Georgia has looked back several times. We kept hearing all year, Georgia doesn't look like the old Georgia. They're not as good as they were a year ago and 2 years ago. They're gonna drop some games. Well, newsflash, we're here and they have dropped no games. And then let's flip it to the attacking side of the West, the Crimson Tide of Alabama. 11-1, 8-0. The Nick Saban, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what the deal is, but he always finds ways to win games that he shouldn't. The Auburn game, for example, 4th and 31, converted, they win by 3. How does that happen? The LSU game, Matt House doesn't know how to coach a defense nor stop a running quarterback, and not to mention they cheap shot Jaden Daniels. They win that game. The Texas A&M game, Texas A&M kind of forgot how to score, and they just kind of kept giving the ball to Alabama, and Alabama didn't really want to score, so they gave it back to A&M, and then A&M just kind of gave it back to Alabama till Alabama got a 9-point win. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. After the Texas game, there was, serious talks about, hey, Dynasty might be dead. Alabama's off the track. They're horrible. They're not going to do anything this year. Well, guess what? We're here. They're 11-1. They're 8-0 in conference play. Jalen Milroe suddenly looks like a quarterback that is confident and knows what he's doing. Jace McClellan has been kind of a thorn in the side of teams, and this wide receiving core with Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton seems to have, I don't know, learned how to catch balls after their many scares, including, the Arkansas game. So, Chooch, this is it. I mean, this is the game. Georgia's a 5-point favorite in the Dome, and the Dome's been very kind to the Georgia Bulldogs the last few times they've been there. Will this be the time where the Saban and the Tide roll in and end that streak? Snap it for Georgia. And before you make your pick, remember this. The last time these two teams played in the SEC title game, Alabama destroyed Georgia.
Yeah, but that was the start of the dynasty, and Kirby didn't want to throw his whole playbook at Nick Saban. We knew that. We knew it when we watched the game. After the game, we're like, yeah, Kirby didn't want to give him any information on what to expect later, and look what happened. But Georgia's on 30. Sorry, they're looking for 30th consecutive win. Bama, like you said, Atlanta's been awfully kind to Bama, but them Bulldogs, they're hungry. They're trying to prove something. Kirby Smart's got away with words like no one else has. He's able to psych these boys up and make them believe, like Nick Saban would, to his old Crimson Tide, that they don't believe in you. They hate you. They don't want you to win. But Kirby twists it around and adds words and phrases I can't say on stuff. So, with that being said, I'm taking the Bulldogs here by 3. I think, actually, no, scratch that. Bulldogs here by 13. So I'm going Georgia over Bama.
All right. So the first one was made, and we got a Georgia on the board. And I mean, how can you not love Georgia? Look, I mean, they got a great team. They got a great coach. They got elite recruits, elite talent every year, 5 stars, all that. I mean, Kirby's defense, he's a defensive guy. He would not let what happened last week happen to his team. Ignore the 2nd and 24 for a moment, please, Alabama fans. And plus, listen to this banger of a song. I mean, oh, come on. Sorry, there's an ad. Come on. Technical. There we go. This gets you But with all that being considered, I like a different song. And this is the song that's going to be playing after this game.
No.
I gotta do it. Alabama wins this game, and they win it because Jalen Milroe is clicking for the first time ever. I've said this. First time ever I have ever said this on the show. They have found their footing. Isaiah Bond looks like an elite wide receiver. Jermaine Burton has looked good. This running game, this O-line seems to be gelling. I know they haven't played the defense like Georgia, but Nick Saban's ready. He's going to have his guys ready. And the Tide are going to take this one and knock off that streak that Georgia's had. Chaos is going to unfold in the world. It's just the natural order of things. I mean, you don't count Bam out of this one. And that is going to end our college picks for this part. But now we're going to roll into our next part about what is going to happen with these Final Fours. I mean, there's a million scenarios. We're going to cover a few of them, and we're going to tell you what we think about all these moments that could happen. So, Chooch, we're going to start with the obvious one, get this out of the way, in the one that some people out there are expecting. So, this one is, what if Washington wins, Georgia wins, Michigan wins, and Florida State wins? But if Texas wins, do they have a shot? Because does the committee think that, Florida State, of course, they're without a quarterback. I mean, they might even be without their backup quarterback. would they jump Florida State even though Florida State is perfect? This is scenario one. What is your take? If all the favorites win, the 1, 2, 3, and 4 win, is there a possibility that the committee would still go, no, we're gonna trust Texas because they have the pieces?
I think Texas. So funny thing actually, I went to the college football on ESPN that you can do the playoff predictor thing, and I did that. I did that scenario.
Oh,
Texas has a 15% chance of making it in. It says it would be Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State as your top four, and then Texas is your five.
oh wow.
Yep, because that gives Georgia and Michigan at 99%, Washington is 96%, and Florida State at 89%. Oh, you said if all the favorites win? Oh, I
Yeah,
did
if
that
all the
wrong.
favorites win, does Texas have a shot
Oh, I did
to
that
jump them?
wrong.
Oh, you're good.
Well, let's find out, shall we? Texas is still out. Oregon gets the spot over Washington. But in my opinion, that's how it should be. Oregon beat the already undefeated team the second time around. Now, obviously, you would have to put the Pac-12 champion in
Right.
if they beat the undefeated number 3 ranked Washington Huskies. And there's no other way I could see that going, to be honest with you.
So
With
you're
the
saying still
ranking,
Georgia, Michigan, and then Oregon, Florida State?
Florida State, Oregon.
Okay, Florida State 3. Gotcha.
Yeah, you want to get. I mean, you kind of want to see Florida State play Georgia, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And you really want to see Oregon play Michigan because that's where the money is. I think in this one, in those matchups, it's Oregon, Michigan. You get the offenses that people are going to say is similar, but I think Oregon's is way more explosive. I think Michigan's defense isn't as great as Oregon's. Michigan's defense is good. They scheme real well. The guys are always on it, but I think Oregon would be a real fun matchup against Michigan because it'd kind of be like that. Honestly, kind of like Georgia, and how
That,
the offense is able to expose what they have.
that is fair. Yeah. Well, the other scenario that's been going around, I've seen this a lot, and I wanted your take on it. What if Louisville beats Florida State, Oregon beats Washington, and Georgia beats Alabama? Or I mean, vice versa. Alabama beats Georgia. I'm so used to Bama being one. I'm harmed by that. Um, and obviously Michigan beats Iowa. I mean, everybody has a universal agreement pretty much that Michigan will beat Iowa. So what happens then, and how would you rank that?
So what was it again? Sorry.
So that's fine. It's Alabama beats Georgia,
Okay.
Michigan beats Iowa, Oregon beats Washington, and Louisville beats Florida State.
I mean,
Oh,
personally,
and Texas beats Oklahoma State too.
it should be Michigan, Oregon, Texas, Washington. Uh no, Georgia. Michigan, Oregon, Texas, Georgia. Yeah, Bama beat them, but Bama was already a one-loss team coming into it.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that because, I know it pisses off the Bammers. And even so, I don't want to get too much into different hypotheticals. Let's stick with this one.
The
So,
defending national champion should defend the championship, even if he's able to make it in.
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and if you think about it too, I mean, Michigan would definitely be one there because, they won. They were the only team out of the four to win. So then you got to look at two, and I've seen some people even, move Georgia just down one, which I definitely don't agree with. I mean, they should have a penalty for losing. So I think, like you said, you'd go Oregon two, and then this is where we change, though. I'd go Georgia 3 because, I mean, it is a loss to Bama, but at the same time, you gotta. I think you gotta keep some relevance with that, and this would be their first loss all season. And then I think you gotta add Texas. I know you did. I'm just, I think
I
Texas is
I
4.
have I have a tough time putting a conference runner up above a conference champion.
That's fair.
So that would be my take on that. That would be Texas would be your 3 seed, even though Georgia had the better season, but Texas beat the team you lost to.
That's a good point too. I forgot. In Tuscaloosa.
In Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
So, and they say Ohio State's got a 14% chance with a hypothetical, but I guess it depends on how much Georgia loses by. Now, say Oregon beats Washington by a little bit too. Then you have
Oh, then chaos opens up.
This is everything ensues after that.
See, okay, so that is interesting. What if we see like a 2021 redo in the SEC title game? Like Alabama destroys Georgia, and then, like you say, Washington gets destroyed by Oregon, which is that one's more realistic at the moment to happening if one were to happen. But if both of those do happen, and let's say Florida State still loses to Louisville. Actually, no. I mean, yeah, it's the same scenario, but
Just we
just a
reverse
little
the role.
different, right? So in that case, are we potentially talking about Georgia missing out and Ohio State coming in?
You could. I mean, yeah, if Alabama blows them out, yeah, but if Texas still wins, you still got to put Texas in my opinion.
Yeah,
And Alabama, it'd have to be Bama. And maybe we get a rematch of 2009 and Texas actually wins it and it changes the directory. Finally changes Texas' trajectory in the modern era.
See, so that's an interesting point too. So Alabama, killing Georgia, just to say, you think they could jump Ohio State and get in?
Yeah, because conference champion against a guy who didn't even play for the conference championship. You lost that right when you lost to Michigan.
That's true. Without Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
and honestly, there's 3 1-loss teams that should make it. Texas, Bama, and Oregon. Maybe Washington, depending on the score. And Georgia, depending on the score. Hell, even if Michigan loses, depending on the score.
So, is there a scenario that you can think of to where Ohio State gets in or no?
Oregon loses, Georgia gets blown out, and Florida State loses. Or Florida State gets blown out, Georgia loses. So say Texas finds a way to lose to Oklahoma State somehow.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Say Oklahoma State shows up it's a rivalry game, so they could show up. It's one of them old school Big 12 things, so who knows? Kind of like hey, we're going to miss you. We're going to give you one last swift kick.
One last reason to hate us for eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be quite the scenario. But screw it. Let's throw all chaos to the wind here. We talked about every upset except for this one. So what if in this scenario, Michigan does lose to Iowa, Florida State loses to Louisville, Oregon beats Washington, and Alabama beats Georgia? We're gonna say, for the sake of this, Alabama barely beats Georgia. It's a very close game. And let's even throw more bedlam here. Texas loses to Oklahoma State. What are we looking at then if all four lose?
Ohio State, Georgia, Washington, Bama. No. Georgia. I don't know.
Yeah, because does the committee pull what they did last year and kind of go, Florida State's only one loss, or do they, go with Michigan there? Do they go with Alabama because they won? I mean, this is the toughest one.
That's the one. If all those teams, I don't see all those teams, but if they do, it would be a weird day in sports. But I don't know. That would be. I don't know. I mean, you said if Washington loses, right?
No, I said so. Or wait, yeah, I did.
So Oregon's your. So if all those teams lose, Oregon's your 1, Bama's your 2. I don't know.
Oh, this is weird. Yeah, because
Or is Bama your 1, Oregon your 2?
so no, I think Oregon would for sure be one because the win. Well, no, the win's not. Well, okay, if they whoever wins by more, if
Yeah. Okay.
Oregon wins by yeah. And I did say Alabama close, so we'll say Oregon wins by more in this case.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Then
Oregon
Oregon's
wins.
your 1. Oregon has to be your 1 at that point.
Yeah, so it would be Oregon, Alabama, Michigan, and or no, wait. Well, do you drop Michigan? Well, okay.
Yeah,
I'd
because you lost to a
say
team with no offense.
Georgia, and then so Georgia's 3, and then who would be that 4? I mean, I don't. I mean, you'd almost have to go Ohio State or Michigan there.
You
I'd
would have to
imagine.
go probably Michigan since they played in a conference championship game
Right.
because they beat Ohio State. Like it would be a tough time putting them over a team they already beat, even though they just
Right.
lost their first game. So yeah, I don't, man. So many playoff implications for this weekend. Like there's so much, like there's a lot of scenarios that can happen. Like and there's still teams that aren't mathematically out yet that are 2 lost teams, and like
Yeah, it's
there are
so
teams
weird.
that can make it in still. That's the crazy part about all of this. Like this can just bye bye.
So let's end this segment off of what we predicted would happen. So yours and mine were obviously different at a few points. So you said Louisville beats Florida State. You
Mm-hmm.
said Oregon beats Washington. You said Texas beats Oklahoma State. Michigan beats Iowa, and Georgia beats Bama.
Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, Texas.
I like that. Nice,
That's you. The
simple.
2 undefeated teams there. Listen, you beat Alabama. That's yeah. I mean, Michigan beating Iowa wouldn't be a surprise.
No.
Oregon beating Washington. That's a rematch of a very, 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 very good game, and it's probably going to be the last grasp of probably the best game we're going to see Oregon play if they make it to the playoffs because we know how Oregon is come this time of year. And then I mean, you got to reward Texas because you beat Bama.
Right.
You're a 1-loss team, and if you don't lose to Oklahoma, you're definitely in the playoffs. Like you're probably, in my eyes, the 1 or the 2.
So if we had to go off of that, like say that's the final 4, who would you pick to win the Natty, and how would it go out of those 4?
So Michigan would play Oregon. Oregon beats Michigan. No, Georgia, Texas, I don't know on.
That's close.
Because to me, those teams are very similar. Now Texas has better quarterback play and I think a better receiver room. I think they're pretty even on the line. I think Texas is a little stronger in the secondary, but Georgia's got them dogs in the linebacking core. I don't know. Um, oh man, I don't know.
When we make it so good we don't even have a clue, folks.
Because part of me like wants to go Georgia so they can just keep this up because Bama can screw off, but also I want Texas to win it because I feel like they need to right the ship for what they've done to their fan base since they lost Colt McCoy. So
Right.
yeah,
So for the sake of this, who would you go?
Texas,
Texas. I like that. So
Texas. I think
Texas, Oregon.
Texas and Oregon. Texas wins a shootout because Quinn and Bo put on a show.
I like that.
Sark and Dan Lanning just. This is probably the funnest national championship game we've had since we played Clemson.
Yeah, no lie.
Because it's going to make up for last year's blowout.
All right, so I'll do mine and then we'll close on out here. So mine, just as a recap, I took Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Michigan, and Florida State beating Louisville. So mine would go or no, wow, oh, wow, I'm messing my own self up here. Okay, Michigan number one, then I would go Florida State. Or no, I'm gonna go Oregon 2, Florida State 3, and then oh man, I don't know. Because do I go Georgia or do I go Texas? I
Well,
I think I'd have to go Georgia.
well, I mean, I wouldn't put if you picked Bama, I wouldn't put a conference championship, a team that didn't win their conference championship, in with the team that did and beat the team you lost to. But like you said,
Oh man, that's what makes it so
I
tough
know
because
because it's
it's
like
like,
you want to put Georgia in so they can defend it, but at the same time,
oh,
it's like the
do I go
logical right thing to do is to put Texas in because Texas beat Bama. If Bama beat Georgia, so if we're going off logic, Texas is better than Georgia.
Yeah, but then you also got to factor in the committee stupidity to where they wouldn't care about that and they'd go, "Oh, Georgia."
And that why
Um,
folks says scenarios because we don't know what the committee is going to do at all.
yeah, so you know what? To stick with the funness of scenarios and not necessarily reality,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Texas at 4. We're gonna put them in. Georgia gets knocked out by Bama. So my final four would go as following: Michigan number one, Oregon number two, number three, we would go with the Knolls of Florida State, and four, Texas. So we got Texas and Michigan, number one versus number four, and then two versus three. Obviously, you got Oregon and Florida State. So, oh man, that's tough. So I'll start with the two versus three matchup, and I'll do one versus four. So I would go with I'd have to go Oregon over Florida State. Florida, if they had Jordan Travis, I would go Florida State here, but they don't, and I just don't know. I mean, I think the defense is good enough to keep them in. I just don't think they have that balance that you would need to win a game like that. So Oregon would be in, and then Texas and Michigan. Um, Man, I love Texas's explosive offense, but I really like Michigan in their ability to win. Like, we saw it without Jim Harbaugh, and this would be with Jim Harbaugh, plus the sign stealing. No, I'm just kidding. Jacob's somewhere shaking his fist. Eh, Um, I'm gonna go Michigan here just because I think Harbaugh would be ready for Sark and he would have some new things up his sleeve, maybe some trick plays, some things to catch Sark off guard. So I would go Michigan here. And then for my national title, Michigan and Oregon. Oh man, that's tough. I love Oregon's offense. I don't think Oregon's defense is good enough to hang that Michigan offense for long. So I'd go with Michigan to win the national title over Oregon. So yeah, that would wrap up mine for that. Also, this isn't really per se breaking news, but I did want to bring this up. Um, JT Daniels had to medically retire. I don't know if you saw this
Oh
yet,
no.
Tooch, but I want to give just a little tribute. I mean, this guy, we're watching him from USC to Georgia to West Virginia and to now Rice. Like, what a college football career that guy has had. So, uh, obviously we want the best for him. Sad to hear about that. It just kind of flashed over my phone. I was like, yeah, I gotta bring this up. So, hopefully he can continue in the football field, maybe be an analyst somewhere. So what a job he did, especially for West Virginia and Rice. So it's amazing. All right, so let's end as we always do. Thank you all for coming in, joining this. Shoot, can you believe it, man? We're already at the conference championship.
I feel like we were literally talking about this at the beginning of the year, going, this goes by way too quick. And
We
it
had
does
that
every
conversation,
year.
and it's here, and I'm not ready. I'm
I'm not ready for
just
it. We
not
literally have like
ready.
3 more episodes left of 4 more episodes. We have Bowl, the Army Navy game, and National Championship of this season. We have 3. 3 left. Actually, no, we have 3 left.
Well, we could do Final Four and Natty, so we might have 4,
Well, 4.
depending on how that goes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all so much again. It's such a privilege to get to do this and to talk to you guys and meet you. And we love it here at JCP. I know Jacob does as well. Just sadly couldn't be with us today. So is what it is. Hopefully we'll be back next week in full effect, all 3 of us. So let's end out as we always do. God bless you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day and enjoy the football, which already kicked off 0-0 New Mexico ball. Peace.